Welcome back to Val Verde Broadcasting. You will have noticed in recent times, up to about a week ago by the time this comes to the public eye, a trailer has finally been released for 28 Years Later, the sequel to 28 Days Later, which has Alex Garland, Danny Boyle returning, and Cillian Murphy in some role, but not in this trailer. And starring Aaron Taylor Johnson. Say it with me, Aaron Taylor Johnson. Find out more after this.
Val Verde Broadcasting.
Okay, yeah, look, I've stated many times in the past for those who watch this channel that I'm a big fan of the film 28 Days Later. I'm a big fan of Danny Boyle in particular. I love his movies. Alex Garland, of course, done lots of things I love. One of the more exciting things for me about this is that Anthony Dodd Mantle is back. He's Danny Boyle's normal DOP, doing some interesting stuff. And 28 Days Later, people tend to forget, was shot on videotape for the most part. It's actually quite an experimental film, and it does some very strange experimental cinematography. And watching this trailer, I'm expecting more of the same in an updated way, which we can get into. Duncan, what are your thoughts about the trailer for the new cinema film, 28 Years Later?
Well, funny, because 28 Days Later, you got me into it, because we did a commentary on it a long time ago, and it was great to watch with you, because watching it with someone, I've probably watched it back in the day and gone, I can't bloody see it. And that would be that. So no, I am not the sort of what's the term, zombiephile, or I'm not into necessarily that stuff. I do think the kind of post-apocalyptic future is sort of played as Tim Curry would say.
Yes, why not? Why not?
Is played out really. I kind of a bit like, okay, the last survivors in the post-apocalypse. It's like, okay, what you mean? It all looks like crap and people kill each other, and it's sort of all right. Fine.
And importantly, when 20 Days Later came out, that's part of why it's played out, because this was very not trendy. It was very unpopular to make zombie films, and kind of big apocalypse stuff really was not. It became a huge trend in the last 20 years, partially due to this and Shaun of the Dead and other things. And the Dawn of the Dead remake kicks it all back off.
Yes. Yeah,
so,
yeah.
This
is... No, I mean, it was at the vanguard at one point.
And Danny Boyle very pointedly kept saying to people, it's not a zombie film, because, they weren't zombies, but also it has every single piece of every zombie film up to that point ever. And that I found that, I love him, but I found that quite pretentious at the time. Whether or not he's still doing that, I don't know.
Yeah, no, but it had, and I think to your point as well, having been shot on videotape, it's interesting because this one I believe has been shot on iPhone 15 on one of these.
iPhone 15 Pro. Pro, yeah. So it's.
Although I will say this, I'll just show you now, because I had to do a self-tape earlier, and Richard got me onto this. There's a Black Magic app, so you can literally treat it like a Black Magic.
That is exactly what the back of the
shoot
Black
in
Magic
Apple
camera.
ProRes and do all the things. So actually,
and just to be clear, because I think this is something that Apple do this a lot, and they did it. They've done it for their own promos. And it's like, oh yeah, we shot this on an iPhone, and we did this on an iPhone, did that on an iPhone. As Steven Soderbergh, well, this is done on an iPhone. This is done on an iPhone. It was done on an iPhone with a fucking 10 grand lens strapped to the front of the sensor, running through a monitor with a focus puller and a whole camera team and all the facilities available to a vastly successful director and DOP in a multi-million dollar budget film.
Yeah.
So people think it's like, it's not.
No, but the point being, I suppose, is that actually, the time was that you needed a black man. Well, not even a black man. You needed a red whatever. Or,
exactly.
Like the Arri, the Alexa, because of the sensor and all the gubbins, and now it's kind of like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I've shot corporate stuff on my iPhone 15 Pro, and it's fine, but like pulling focus on it is virtually impossible because you have to tap and it does it, so it's not like, you know.
Yeah, whereas
nowhere near
whatever
it.
they've done with this iPhone Pro for this movie, like I say, I've seen the set pictures. It's on an Icona tripod, which is a 40 grand tripod with the fucking huge Cine Prime lens on the front of it and everything, and all the rest of it. I'm not sure if it's anamorphic or not, like this letterboxed, at least for this trailer, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, I think this gets lost in the mix of 28 Days Later. By the way, I have a lot of time for 28 Weeks Later. I was talking to our friend Mark the other day, just saying it's way better than it deserves to be, and it's a good movie. But it's a lot more kind of conventional. Like, if you look at 28 Days Later, part of what made it work, I think, and I think the mistake at the time was because it was shot on mini DV tape. Like, I'm looking at some mini DV tapes up there. I still have all mine from that era. People were like, oh, well, that was shot on a Sony Handycam, and it wasn't. It was shot on a combination of Canon XL2s, which were the cutting edge mini DV cameras at the time, and a bunch of other ones with different lenses and stuff like that. But it's a really interesting film visually because it has the low fidelity of home movies, but the high fidelity of expensive lenses and lighting and you know, expert attention. And the reason I'm going into 28 Days Later so much is because this film, and I find this really interesting, they've opted to go for the modern equivalent of shooting on home
Exactly.
movie.
Well, this was my very long-winded point. Is that we're viewing it? It's there's something there about viewing it through a lens that is so democratized, I suppose, or so whatever you want to call it. You know, you're viewing it through what you could, you know, but like you say, with all the expertise behind it.
Yeah, it creates a kind of like, I don't think I would have articulated it when I was 18 or whenever 28 Days Later came out, but it's or just supposed to be about 20. It creates a kind of immediacy and familiarity. It is on one level the look that you can create yourself through the lens of all of the expensive stuff on top. And like watching, and again, I love Anthony Dodmantle shot Dread. He's done loads of Danny Boyle stuff. I think I love what Danny Boyle does visually in collaboration with him. When Brian Tofano was Boyle's DOP, they really wacky stuff. Kind of 28 Days Later has kind of strange split screens and all kind of odd stuff that I really, really love. And looking at this trailer, and again, this is from the like DOP wanking off thing, it looks really interesting. And it's what they did before, but again, visually. So visually and thematically, it's carried that on, which I find fascinating, really interesting. And it's it's all there because there's... if you're familiar with the term chromatic aberration, but chromatic aberration is when the colour fields in an image split into red, green and blue. If you don't know that term, Google it. You'll know it when you see it. It's when, sometimes called fringing at the end of a really wide lens, the image fringes and the colours separate. And I saw kind of like aberration artefacts in this, and frames looking a bit too wide and like a bit of grain and weird focus and I think different diopters and stuff, and I was like, this is going to be visually fascinating, very interesting movie to look at. In terms of its pool of references, there's references to like Dawn of the Dead again, and there's like I think Mick Jackson's Threads, I think very much the kind of videotape thing and all the stuff about our community soon plays out like the last act of Threads, which is a really important kind of British apocalypse movie. Very unclear what the plot is. Aaron Taylor-Johnson lives on an island.
I mean, yeah, is it? I mean, it's. I'm guessing, but don't hold me to this. That the infected turn up and there's a problem, and then.
Well, I would hope so. Otherwise, it's not a.
And I gather there's some sort of cult on the Ray Fiennes has a cult or something.
There's a British comic called Crossed by Garth Ennis, which is essentially a kind of very 28 Days Later-esque, and this seems to have fed back into that because it's very similar to parts of the comic Crossed.
Okay.
Which is kind of like a very violent, unpleasant thing. Apparently as well, and I'm not... This is what I don't like. It seems they've shot two of these back-to-back, and that normally sets a kind of alarm bell off for me. I'm not always the biggest fan of that, and I'm always a bit like, oh, I'd much prefer you just did one. And then someone else said it was part of a trilogy, and I was like, no, don't do that. We don't want that.
I mean, like I say, I'm here for it in that, like, I gained an appreciation of 28 Days Later thanks to you, and I do see all the merits in that film. I never saw 28 Weeks Later, and this, I will say, sort of seems to have. There's that shot of the hill with the tree and the.
So that's Dawn of the
zombies.
Dead.
Yeah,
that's Dawn of the Dead. The original, the proper Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah. And I love that. I was like, okay, that's really, yeah, that's striking imagery. There's that sort of tower of skulls and that kind of thing. Fine, all good. But I have to say, thematically, there's very little to explore here. Character-wise, there's very little to explore. I mean, I'm sure you can do something interesting, but again, it's like, I always find with these things, like the zombie thing is a backdrop. The post-apocalyptic is just a backdrop. It's like, and then the characters, well, how do they fare against it? And it's kind of like, well, by surviving, and we all kind of know what that looks like. I mean, the first one had some really interesting things in there because it sort of not long happened, right? So they were like, you could still go to a supermarket and get things, and you could still do stuff. Whereas this would just be lots of presumably overgrown, knackered out old shops, or whatever society will look that
which
way.
We've seen a lot of in the last 10, 20. Yeah, like Walking Dead just fucking spaffed all of that, didn't it? Like,
and also things like A Quiet Place and Burnt.
well,
so
Last
many
of
of
Us,
these.
Last
of Us. I mean, it's just like it has been hammered into the ground, and it's not the fault of Danny Boyle. Obviously he was, like I say, he kind of brought a lot of it back, but it's like I can't get excited about that. I also struggle to get excited now. I mean, and maybe it's because I'm jaded. I don't know, but it's like. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ralph Fiennes. It's like I like Ralph Fiennes a lot. He said hello to me once. Very nice guy. But like, can we get other people for fuck's sake? It's just like everything's Aaron Taylor Johnson at the moment, and I guess because they think he's going to be James Bond or whatever. But he's literally every fucking thing that's coming out now, and it's like. Okay, but
I know what you mean.
He's slapped across everything.
He is in fucking everything. Because what was quite interesting, like when Cillian Murphy was in the original one. I'd never seen him in anything yet. He was in a few bits, but that's kind of the film that blew him up. I tell you what, because when the trailers for that movie come out, I didn't even know he was Irish because he didn't have any of his dialogue in it. So when I sat in the cinema, I was like, "Oh, he's Irish," because I didn't know who he fucking was. And that's kind of blown up since. So yeah, I know what you mean. I don't get dreadfully excited about Aaron Taylor Johnson projects. Nothing against him. I think he's really good. Like that Bullet Train film, he was fantastic and really funny and whatever. But he is in everything. I mean, I do think that because Alex Garland, Danny Boyle, they don't need money. This doesn't feel like they've just gone back to the well. I think they've got a story that they want to tell, and how that plays out, I'm really interested to see. Cause I
bet it's very much a cut above, and I'm sure it will be a very good film. It's just we'll be exploring things. There's inevitably, purely on a procedural level, you'll be exploring things that have to be answered in a film like that. And I can't watch someone else trudge through fields wearing old clothes, carrying a bow and arrow or whatever.
We've been saturated with that for the last few years. And again, Dawn of the Dead, The Walking Dead just ruined that for everyone because it was 10 million seasons of increasingly dreadful television where we had to watch people walk around in circles. So I'm quite, I don't know.
Looking decisively well fed and fending people off with a katana or whatever. And
I will say, so just to touch on, because to a degree, 28 weeks later is that, to a degree, in that they wanted another one, and I think Danny Boyle at least produced or executive produced it, but they wanted another one, and they just went and made it, and it's shot on 35mm. It's a very fine looking movie, a lovely movie, but I don't think it's nearly as interesting in its filmmaking, but it is great. And it's a really good movie. Like, it's not amazing, it's not brilliant. It's the way Mark and I described it the other day was it's better than it deserves to be. But it is a good movie, and they've got in Mary Elizabeth Winstead and fucking Jeremy Renner and Idris Elba just before they were all huge.
I was going to say because the main player in that was Bobby
Carlyle. Yeah, well, he's kind of. It's really the kids are the main, but yeah, he's the main kind of. But it's mostly about the kids, and the thing about that is, and it's so it doesn't really happen anymore, but it's what American studios always used to do. It's kind of like. Well, we liked that, but it needs Americans in it because we want to make more money. So the Americans have to come and go, I'm Chad Americanson, and I've come here to burn America's pastime, pastrami, or whatever. Like, they have to, crowbar Americans into it. Yeah. Which was but it's still a good movie. But it just had that kind of the Americans want their cut now because Fox Searchlight paid for the first one and whatever. But it is a good movie. But it is that kind of someone just wanted some more. Whereas this feels like... neither of those guys. I don't think need money or credibility. They're both very successful filmmakers in their own right. Alex Garland directs things now very well, to my opinion. I really like his movies. You know, and I'm sure, and I assume because Fox Searchlight, I don't know if they just distributed it. I don't know what the deal is with them. But if that's true, if they do have more in this than I realised, and it's now part of Disney, they could just fucking make it without them. Or go and do a series. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of feels like... you are right. I can't see what the story is going to be. The infected come and you have to run away. But maybe there's more to it than that. I don't know. The 28 Weeks Later does introduce some wrinkles into how it all works. The second film. It makes it more interesting with some new stuff.
That's fair.
So,
I mean, look, obviously, I get that it's an infection, not a thing, but I mean, ultimately, it's sort of like, yeah, but it's zombies, though, isn't it?
Oh, no, it is. Oh, no. Like, in every facet, like, the entire structure of 28 Days Later is every George Romero film. Like, the third act of 28 Days Later is essentially Day of the Dead. Like, you know, it's you go to the base collapses, and that was much fresher then because it wasn't as so oft repeated. But Danny Boyle was kind of like, it's not a zombie film, and I kind of get the feeling Alex Garland was like, it is though. I don't know, because it's a zombie film in anything but name.
Yeah,
you know, and the thing is, Mark pointed out, and it's true because 28 Days Later works brilliantly as a one and done because you see the infected starving to death, and you're told that it's just Britain. And the infected starve because they're people with the virus that makes them like that, and they need to eat and drink, and they don't, so they just die. So presumably, I mean, because the thing, I can buy 28 because the second movie shows that it takes over the world, and I can get how that would destroy society, and then it would still be in the ecosystem, and you'd be able to, you know, it would blight people from time to time, and that's where you have to isolate them.
Yeah, I guess it could. And what of that zombie that supposedly is Cillian Murphy that wakes up?
Yeah, people keep saying that. That
it
surely
looks like him, I guess. But...
Yeah, but I did see a comment I saw on Facebook utterly cemented my feelings on this. It's kind of like, if it's not him and you're Cillian Murphy and you're reading those comments, it's just like, because I've got high cheekbones and sunken eyes, people think I look like a fucking corpse. But that is, I think so. You know, I think it's one of a couple of things. Firstly, the original 28 Days Later has dream sequences. So, dream sequence. Or, it seems to pop up like it's on a stick. And I'm like, is that them using a fucking corpse as a scarecrow? Like, is it a decoy? Because they aren't zombies, right? That's not a zombie, that's a corpse, because there aren't. Yeah. I would be really disappointed if it's like, this has zombies now. Because it's like, well, I know what you mean. It is zombie by another name, but if they've just suddenly had the undead in it, because it was.
Then you've literally stripped it of anything that made it unique, really. Apart from
and the point in shooting on an iPhone or shooting on videotape is to give it that kind of documentary realism, and it is unrealistic, but it's way more couched in reality than the literal dead returning to life. It's a kind of viral infection that's like rabies that makes you savage. And, you know, it's unrealistic, but it's still somewhat couched in reality. The fact they starve to death tells you that it's couched in reality. I don't think there's going to be... People keep saying like that, because this is the thing. The popular misconception is that they are zombies, and I know effectively they are for the purposes of the story, but they're not. And people keep calling it a zombie film and kind of saying like, well, is he undead? The undead are back. Look, Danny Boyle's undead. And it's like, they're not undead, though. They're very mortal. Yeah. You know, so like, I don't know. I didn't know, as they say in Newcastle. I don't know why I did that.
Yeah. I mean, look. I mean, it's a good trailer. I think just looking at it from that perspective, I think it's a very, you know, it's effective. It has that Danny Boyle kind of like stark, like it looks scary. It has a scary element to it because we don't know. You know, that it keeps its cards close to its chest, and that's great because that's what it should do. And obviously, like, because it knows we know, kind of basically, like we've just been talking about, like, you know. But I suppose it is a thing of like, obviously society's collapsed. It's post-apocalyptic. Dull as that is, and then it's kind of like some maybe it's the virus has been gone a long time, and then it comes back somehow, and then and fine, you know, whatever. I don't know, but
it's a post. You know, they're doing the kind of post technological society, right? So everyone's bows and arrows and agriculture, and that thing about the roles in our community. So nice. And I'm guessing that the main character is one of those children watching Teletubbies at the beginning. I presume that's the utility of that. Because the dates would add up. If you had 28 years to the age of one of those kids, it'd be one of those kids. It doesn't have to be. I also wondered looking at it because I've got nothing better to do, but like that having rewatched the trailer, that opening scene did look a bit like videotape, and he watched it on a bigger screen, but it had the kind of blown out highlights and stuff that are the hallmarks of videotape. I'm kind of like, ooh, if they shot the bit 28 years previously on videotape, that's what I would do because I'm a loser. And I'm like, yeah, because that's that movie. And then the other movie.
I think that's great. Yeah. I think that's how it should be. Yeah, no, I think you're right actually, because I remember noticing that. I remember, this feels very, very much like 28 Days Later. And then it could well be.
Because 28
Teletubbies and shit.
Teletubbies, yeah, because it's a period of stuff. 28 Days Later itself, the jump. Jim gets shot, they go through the gates, and it jumps forward to them in the cottage. That's all 35mm. So there's a format break in that movie as well.
Okay.
And it kind of plays into that kind of happier, cleaner, crisper, more of a movie type thing. So there are format breaks in that original movie, and as you can tell, a lot of what I'm excited about for this is technical and creative. Rather, so I sort of don't care what the story is in a lot of ways.
Well, no, I mean, like we said, I think it is going to be how it's told is going to be very much a part of it, Anyway, so no, I think there's perfect sort of validity in seeing it that way. How does it remind me how the first one ended? It just ends with them at that.
No. So they get Jim gets shot, they escape. And then it cuts to sometime later, they're in a cottage in what looks like the Scottish Highlands, and they've been stitching together fabric to make a big sign that says help, and then like a kind of Norwegian Air Force plane flies over. So they've been, and it the implication being they've been rescued and the rest of it.
Right.
So originally Jim, there's two endings, it's on the DVD. Jim dies, they shot one where Jim's just dead. So like it cuts to the cottage and it's just, is it Serena and the girl? Naomi Harris, and the girl. Yeah. But they shot it with him as well, and I think they were like, "Yeah, a bit of a bummer. Let's let him let him be alive," Because he's
in the second one.
No, none of them are. It's all new cast. So I think it's like because him being he is in this, but maybe they're saving him for the second one if that is correct, or for whatever reason they're keeping him back from this trailer. Maybe he's a corpse. Which would be a real bummer. That'd be a real bummer.
Well, so is Cillian Murphy credited in the film then?
Yes, and he's been doing some press around it and things like that. So it's, but it's all been quite tight-lipped. I mean, this is. I just wanted to check. It is coming 20th of June, 25. Released by Sony Pictures.
Cool.
Yeah, so next June. And it's been in the offing for a while. I think something that I've had to put up with a lot is people well-meaningly sending me AI-generated trailers or those stupid fan trailers. It's kind of like, oh yeah, it turns out this movie's going to be archive footage from the film Godzilla. Whatever.
It's astounding to me that anyone falls for that anymore. But then sometimes they do it. I remember, I think it was the No Time to Die trailer used footage from Casino Royale at the start, and I was like, this fake. Immediately, I was like, this is fake.
At least that's in the same franchise. Like, more often than not, they just used it from a rant, and it's just like, this is mostly. It's when they do ones for sequels, and it's like, is this film going to be repurposed footage from the first movie? Because you have nothing else to. But anyway, the real trailer is here, and even when I got the link, I was kind of like, I'm going to click on this and see what account posted it before I fucking watch it this time. So I saw quite a profoundly AI generated one, which annoyed me and creeped me out because it's just like, not a fan of that.
Don't get me started. No, me either. But I mean, it looks good. I'm here for it. I don't know beyond. I mean, again, this, like we said, this trailer's doing the work of a trailer. It's setting the mood. It's a mood piece. It's not really that indicative. It's
kind of more of a teaser, really, isn't it? I think.
Yeah,
but I'm not
it's
sure.
Just a longer teaser, which is fine. Again, not a problem. Danny Boyle's quite good at choosing music as well. Like, there's that. I'm not sure there's a poem or something in it.
Yes, which I don't know. I'm not educated enough to know. I read there was a write up about it which said what it was. I don't know what it is because I'm uncultured scum.
Well, I do English literature. I still don't know.
Oh, well, there you go then. So, no, I'm sorry. I fucked up English literature at A level. That's as far as I went with English literature.
Keats or something. I don't know. Hang on. I should have just looked this up and then sounded.
It's Pam Ayres, mate.
What is it? Poem? Is it a poem?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just. I think 28 Days Later might be one of those DVDs
Boots.
I got rid of, and I've got a horrible feeling 28 Days Later is one of those films you can't fucking stream anywhere. Yeah, 28 Days Later is not available for streaming, right? Oh wait, hold on, no, it's on Disney Plus. Fuck you, Just Watch. Oh no, that's 28 weeks later. Well, looks like I'm buying a Blu-ray again. We did a whole video about this. You can find it on the channel. It's called The Death and Return of Physical Media. And this has just gone to reinforce my fucking point. Also, I love how perverse it is to buy 28 Days Later on Blu-ray, upscaled from fucking mini DV tape.
The key piece of audio in 28 Years Later is spoken word recording of the Rudyard Kipling poem Boots by American actor Taylor Holmes from 1915.
Oh.
As fans are quickly discerning, the poem wasn't included just for its freaky repetitive cadence. The context and themes of the poem may foreshadow the context and themes of 28 Years Later.
Oh my god. Yeah. Oh my god.
So there you go.
Oh jeez, I hope I still have my fucking DVD. What I got rid of. Oh. It's my favourite movies. Look what society did to me.
Says the poem Boots imagines the thoughts of a British Army infantryman stationed in South Africa during the Second Boer War between the British Empire and the Boer republics over influence in South Africa. Because the infantrymen have no clear campaign, they are made to march across the region, and the speaker is slowly getting mad from days of seeing nothing but his boots and the boots of nearby soldiers in the line, marching up and down without end. There's more to this, but I won't keep reading it. But there you go. But that's the sort of
that gives a good impression, doesn't it, of what's going on here. Okay, all right, cool. Yeah, I get it. I'm into it. I mean, again, I'm really excited, like creatively and technically, and I love Anthony Dodd Mantle. It's probably it's very easy, one of my favourite DOPs ever. I just think it's very, very creative. Did anybody else see my kick light go off?
Yeah, I've noticed you've gone dark. I just thought it was because it's going dark.
I was talking about cinematography and one of my lights went off because the battery ran out. Never mind. These things happen. I think it looks quite good without it anyway.
Yeah. Moody.
Moody. Right, I think that this particular shit has been shot.
I believe so.
To within an inch of its life. Yes.
That's what we like to do here. Flogged to death.
Flogged to death, yes. Beaten black and blue. What do you think about the film 28 Years Later? Would you like to like and subscribe? Please SEO. Please interact. 404 personality not found. I did that. I know I did that. Most people don't stay to the end anyway, so it's fine. Yeah. Well, anyway, if you like this video, there are plenty more. There's one about the life and death and return of physical media, which is about how you can't get anything on fucking streaming anymore, so you have to go back to your Blu-rays that you chucked into a fucking charity shop and can't find anymore, like I've done. Very annoying. There's lots of other stuff you like. If you like, we try to do videos most weeks. We have another video coming out about Deadpool and Wolverine. We recorded that first, but we're releasing it later because that's old news. This is new news, if you will. By all means, comment, subscribe, give us a shout, come and have a chat. And that's it. Until next time, we bid you goodbye.
Goodbye.